IVM.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. As we go into God knows what week of the lockdown, we've been trying to make sure that we get as much content out to you as possible. We had some interesting episodes in the last week. Cyrus Says we had Ankur Singh Ranyal on it. That was a fun episode to listen to. On the Filter Coffee podcast, we had Taslima Nasleen and Arunav Sinha on that. That was another great conversation. Karthik Srinivasan joined Varun on Advertising is Dead. And guys, look for Pratik Oswal on Paisa Vaisa podcast with Anupam Gupta. That was another great episode. I'd also like to let people know that the show that we're doing with Mr. Ashish Vidyarthi, Begin the Journey, is now going to be releasing 3 times a week. So do check that out. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And let's get started with your show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uncle Please Sit. My name is Tushar Abhichandani and with me is...
You should stop saying with me is, because that implies that this is your show and I'm your guest.
Are say your name first, Joel.
Hello and welcome to Uncle Please Sit. I am Joel Pereira and with me is Tushar Abhichandani. As always, as co-host of this show.
We are together in spirit, buddy. We are together in spirit.
As co-host, see, look, Tushar, I'm very sorry, man. This fucking lockdown has made me very insecure. I'm like, no.
Now, this show is Uncle, Please Talk Relationships.
I only want the warmth of human contact. That's all I want. I want to sit in Uncle's lap.
Oh man, I worry for those uncles considering how big you are.
No, listen, I've been working out and all, okay? Please.
No, as in you're a big, tall man. I was not fat shaming you.
Nice catch. Nice save.
But those poor uncles with their arthritis will die, buddy.
Yeah, worse. No, you have to be more concerned about the hemorrhoids considering I'm sitting on them.
Oh, wow. Yours or theirs?
This just went into a very weird place. We should have some auto... considering where I'm right now in Hyderabad and you're in Bombay and we're recording this over some software, we should have an auto retract function. Auto retract.
Okay, like
I want to auto retract all of that.
Yeah.
I want to auto retract all of that part.
Oh man, but the thing with this lockdown is it's making you do weird things, man. Like I'm experiencing it every day. Like every day, it's like my parents will sit in the hall at some point, my parents and I. And we look out the window, and you've seen my house where, the view is great. You can overlook the creek, and so you can it's a nice place. But there's great visibility. So every day we look out and be like, आज visibility ज़्यादा अच्छी है, आज visibility अच्छी नहीं है, आज ज़्यादा pollution दिख रहा है, आज कम pollution, आज humidity है ना, इसकी वजह से looks अच्छे नहीं हैं. And then of course there's that main road next to my house. So every day we're like. आज ट्रैफिक ज्यादा लग रहा है, and then of course after the next like नहीं आज कम है, and then we will sit and hypothesize why traffic is less or more.
Tushar, this could also be an explanation into why your relationship with your parents is so shallow.
Yeah, clearly. Very, very shallow. It's like that's all we're like, those British people talk about the weather all the time.
Yeah.
It's just that we talk about traffic
and pollution also now. Yeah. Because we are urban Indians.
Of course. Which has been amazing, by the way, the lack of pollution.
2 things I've realized. That's the only way that I am basically maintaining my sanity is the lack of pollution and the fact that there's no noise, there's no traffic or anything, and also the internet. Can you imagine what would have happened 20 or 30 years ago if we were in the same condition?
That's what, 20. Forget just the internet. 20 years ago, we were also dealing with load shedding, buddy. Can you imagine lack of internet and lack of electricity during a quarantine, as like a lockdown
at the
period?
Same time?
Oh man, it could have been horrifying.
People joke now about families are spending time together and they're murdering each other. They'll all murder each other and this and that and whatever. And I'm pretty sure 20 years ago, if the same thing had happened,
that would have been a separate column for COVID deaths, but not related to COVID.
COVID purge,
pretty much.
COVID purge.
Man. But because...
go on. No, I was just saying that for everyone, like, one of the things you keep hearing about, especially from older people, is like, when I say older people, I mean uncles, is the fact that they are very upset about the fact that young people are spending so much time on their devices, right? They were like, oh, these young people of today, all they want to do is have their faces deep in their phones and deep in their screens, and like, they cannot experience life the straight and this
many opinions on him.
Yeah, which again, like, when you are hearing this from someone's mouth, you're like, yeah, that sounds about right. But like all uncle opinions, right? They are simplistic and without any nuance.
And then you say, a grain of truth, but lack of nuance.
Complete removal of all nuance, right? Because that's like, that brings us into the topic that we're going to be discussing today, which is basically one of Indian uncles' pet peeves, that these young people, they always want to spend all their time on their phones and other devices. Yeah. And they don't experience nature and life the way we do. Which again, when you're listening to this, like, yeah, and you may even like, refer to yourself over here, be like, you know what, I do spend a lot of time on my phone. Maybe this uncle is right. And then you think about it a little more, and then you realize this uncle is full of shit. Yes. But we'll be coming back to discuss this right after the break.
Yes, right after the break.
Right after the break.
Come back.
Entertainment is like food for the brain. It's a window to culture and a great way to understand the world around us. The internet has changed what it means to be an entertainer, creating new storytellers with millions of fans. It has spawned a new breed, the story sellers, those behind the scenes creating the business for this ecosystem. They work with brands, platforms and channels who are keen to capitalize on an audience hungrier than ever for more stories. I'm Vineet Kanabar, and I have a ringside view to how stories are told and sold. On my show, I bring you creators, artists, executives, and marketers for a freewheeling conversation around the business of entertainment. Tune in to Storytellers and Story Sellers for personal stories, analysis, and criticism every Thursdays as I talk to the brightest minds telling or selling great stories today.
And we're back. Tushar, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And this show, of course, is brought to you by the magic of technology that uncles seem to not like so much and definitely do not trust.
Which is ironic considering uncles use this technology a fair amount themselves.
Yeah, this idea. So, okay, in India, based on the stats that we got, it is true that the most internet users tend to be young people. Yeah. But in more developed and mature markets, where the uncle opinions are the same, in, like, for instance, in US, the people who are using the phones the most are what they refer to as Gen X, which is basically the generation, if we are in our mid-30s, the generation that's just before us, but after the boomers. Yeah. And, of course, the boomers, who in India are referred to as the Midnight's Children.
They are
such a romantic name, right?
For
We will
not finish that sentence.
No, but when this okay boomer meme happened, I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was very funny. And for those of you who are listening and who might have missed the meme, boomer is basically short for baby boomer. And who were the generation in America who were born between 1945, which is after the Second World War ended, all the way up to 1964. Okay, so that entire generation of the people who were born in between those years were referred to as the baby boomers. In India, we had a similar generation who were born post 47. And they were referred to as Midnight's Children, who in a reference to Nehru's speech, at the stroke of the midnight hour, etc. Yeah. So they are referred to as Midnight Children. And the generation that came after them, who were basically called Gen X. Right?
Yeah, people
and
born then, after, I think, 65 to 85, right?
No. 66 to 79. Yeah. See, it varies depending on who you ask. But broadly...
roughly those decades, essentially.
Yeah, roughly those decades. And then after that, everyone who was born between 1980 and 1995 are the millennials. And then the people who were born between 95...
Let's stop digressing and come back to the point that old people also use this damn thing a fair amount, especially in developed countries. And I'm sure even in India, even though the number of older people using smartphones is low, I'm saying smartphones because internet primarily in India, smartphone is the primary source of internet for most Indians, at least in the current scenario. A lot of people don't have broadband at home or Wi-Fi at home.
Of course.
But even in India,
and also among the older folks, older folks are far more likely to access the internet on a mobile device.
Compared to. And what I'm also saying is that of the people who do use it, I'm sure that their daily internet usage is fairly high because they are busy sending everyone good morning messages every day.
Oh, jeez.
Did you know I was playing a quiz fact that apparently a giant chunk of the data used in India is actually used up by good morning messages.
In fact, adding to what you just said, Google, there's this Google has a small app called Files. Right, which is basically a software that cleans out your memory and cleans out your So Google created Files apparently, especially for the Indian market, because they found out. So for instance, what was happening is that even mobile internet providers in the mornings, right, between like a certain chunk between 7 and 9 a.m., then networks would be jammed, with data. And they'd be like, why? What are people doing at this time in the morning? Why are our networks so jammed? And then they realize that hundreds of millions of people sending good morning messages to each other.
So it's basically, so a lot of people even within that, even though it's right now a much smaller segment than people who are below the age of 40, their daily use is still, I'm sure, pretty high.
Oh, yeah, man. And also, the thing is that older people, you're talking about older people using phones. Again, in the West, at least, and also throughout the world, mostly throughout the world, older people are the ones who are a little more gullible as far as fake news and things like that are concerned.
For instance, our first point, our first point is basically proliferation of fake news that is blamed often on young people, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Like, for instance, my own mother will send me WhatsApp forwards at times, okay? So earlier on, she would just send me the forward. But now, after me berating her about like fake news and why you're educated and why you're sending this crap to everyone, she will add a addendum to she'll right after the message, she'll say, "Is this true?" ? Okay. And I'm like, Mom, the same device that you have sent this crap to me, you can use to check. Yeah.
No, you can use to check. Right now, the fact that we're all at home, right? So I literally, it's like I put aside about like 30 to 40 minutes of my day just debunking garbage that my parents get every day. Like somebody will send some call forward or some video or some weird thing claiming some amazing fact that's happened in this country or outside, and then I have to be like, just look at this video. This makes no sense. And Google all of this. There are literally people breaking their backs for very little money, fact checking all of this shit. Use their services. Donate to them and use their services.
On some level, we've grown up with this entire meme culture and with this entire, and also our generation has basically apparently has inherited a deep sense of irony, which powers us through our lives.
Listen, I feel like that's a bubble. I feel like that bubble of irony is a very small one because I feel like a lot of people, even our age, don't get it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying generally the meme culture is quite widespread. Yeah,
that is true.
The meme culture, the irony part of it is, sure. Irony as a lifestyle is like unique to maybe like a few people. But the meme culture is quite prevalent every year. Yeah,
that's true. But it's so ironic, no? When you look at it and you realize that when we were growing up, our parents used to tell us, "Don't believe everything you see on TV."
Exactly.
And now we're basically
don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you read in the newspaper.
My general rule for them is, if you see something on WhatsApp, first disbelieve it, then check it, and if it's true, then believe it.
Yeah, no, even I, on my family WhatsApp group, right, all my aged uncles and aunts, now I have time, right? Because earlier on they would send all this nonsense. I'd look at it, I'd sigh, and I'd be like, I don't have time to deal with this. But now I have all the time.
I will show you everything now.
I will show you everything now. So then I've been yelling at them for the past couple of weeks. Now maybe they've created another group which I'm not in. Yeah.
No, also because I feel
And
like
they're
with
still-
no, that's also happening because I realized a lot of my extended family, they just stop talking about certain things in front of me because they're like, "अरे ये पकाएगा अभी, इसको नहीं सुनने का, let's just fuck it, let's just not hear him, let's just not bring it up in front of, let's just not poke the tiger."
yeah. Oh wow. Good job on referring to you as a tiger. Huh?
Yeah, buddy, because Tiger King Sindhi or Sindhi Tiger King, whatever.
So yeah, right now we have the internet being blamed for the global swing rightwards and fake news and so on and so forth. But as you just dig in just a little bit into that swing, you realize, like for instance, in India, I don't know if anyone has sat and analyzed the data, but in the US, for instance, the average Trump voter is 55 plus. Similarly, in the UK, with the pro-Brexit voter, again 55 plus. Same
Acha,
thing in
before you go
mainland.
ahead, I want to just put a caveat because I feel like some chutia will comment at us and be like, no, this is not right. What we mean by average is like a mean of everyone. Because we know that some young people also voted for him, or some people below 40 also voted for him. Some black people also
Yeah,
voted for Trump. Some Hispanic people also voted for Trump. We're talking about a base average kind.
correct.
Yes. Go on now.
So if you look at the swing towards Trump, towards the right wing globally, like in the last 5 years or so, 5 6 years or so, you will realize that there is one commonality between all of them. That we're not saying that this obviously, like this is an average or a mean or a representation of the typical like right wing, especially new right voter, but they tend to be older and they tend to be male.
Yeah.
All the other stuff that people were talking about, working class, this, that, rich, educated, college degree, nothing, that all is also there and also not there. But what everyone is agreeing on about the fact is that, like for instance, when Brexit happened, right, the commonality over there between the average Brexit voter was age, you know places, and you could see it even as far as the United Kingdom was concerned, like places with the younger people, like for instance the big cities like London and Manchester and so on and so forth, all went anti-Brexit, and the older places full of pensioners and retirees all went very pro. So yeah, then on the other side, but right, you have concepts like fact checking, or for instance, Black Lives Matter, or the Arab Spring, and so on and so forth. It could only happen because of the internet, and mostly, I think, because of young people using the internet.
Yeah.
In a way.
There's a lot of garbage online, but the fact is that there's so much good stuff that is being created by people of all ages, not just young people. And this stuff is enabling so much change. Like for example, the gay rights movement. I think again we've referred to it before also in the context of another episode. But in India and globally, the internet has played such a huge role in sort of normalizing the LGBTQ community across the world. It's helped bridge a lot of the I don't want to say divide. It's helped bridge a lot of the lack of information, a lack of understanding that people had towards various communities, and even with other movements. Like for example, in India, the Dalit movement is a great example, where a lot of information, a lot of just voices from Dalit groups are coming out, and individuals are coming out, which are helping us educate ourselves, in the sense they are helping us understand the sheer depth of the kind of crap that's happened, the kind of horror.
Variety of perspectives, right? Variety of perspectives.
Exactly. This variety of perspectives that's coming out of the internet.
In India also, or globally also for that matter, like even on as far as gender issues are concerned, LGBT issues are concerned, minority issues are concerned. In India, if we didn't have the internet, Me Too would have not happened at all.
For sure.
Yeah, Me Too would have definitely not happened. Considering that,
I mean, to be fair, technically it wouldn't have happened anywhere. I mean,
that's what I said, right? That's what I said. Like in anywhere in the world, this concept, like Me Too, wouldn't have happened only. If the internet didn't exist. And if kids were not so active on it.
Just even the understanding, like right now, we're in the middle of this again. I keep coming back to COVID. The fact that so many people have come together to help people out, So many people are working on the ground. So many people are trying to sort of put out helpful information. All of that is happening because the internet is making it happen. I mean, of course, there are so many people who are putting out lots of rumors also, but abhi kya karega uska? Good comes with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, good comes with the bad. Yeah. No, but then there are these, as far as again, like the internet is concerned, and the questions about, I don't know if it's just the internet, but also use of technology. Like one more uncle opinion that I keep hearing about is that basically young people don't read anymore, or maybe they are not as well informed as people in the older generation were. And again, depending on where you make this statement, like if you make this statement around other older people, they'll all be like, yes, correct. These kids, no one seems to be reading books anymore. Everyone is just on their phones and on their like iPad and this and that and whatever. And again, if you just listen to this, like I said, you just hear this opinion offhand or casually, you'd be like, yeah, sure, that sounds about right. We all know people are spending a lot of time on their phones. But then again, you think about it a little deep and you realize this is nonsense. Because just because you're not reading a book, that doesn't mean you're not reading, right?
Yeah, it's the assumption, that a book is like much higher value, which it is good, it's great. Books are amazing. I love reading them. But the assumption that if you're only reading books matters, just that other forms of reading are not relevant at all. What about all the articles?
Or other forms of information. Of absorbing information?
Yeah,
right?
like podcasts, like this podcast.
Yes.
Like, look at this
podcast.
What book will give you this information? I mean, a lot of books will give you this information, but we are bringing it in like a nice little package, guys.
No, and also it's not just that, right? It's documentaries. I have, personally, even though I read a lot, okay, I have in the last 10 years or so gained so much information just from Twitter.
That's true. So I started reading very late in life, as in like when I got into college and stuff. And I feel like I do have a decent enough knowledge base. A lot of that has come from video. A lot of that's come from Twitter, video, other things. I mean, of course, we've gone and verified this information later on. We've not just taken things at face value. A lot of people, unfortunately, take things at face value and then don't bother to do their own research. But the thing is, it's not like not reading books is a giant handicap. It's great. Read books, they give you knowledge, they teach you a lot of things, but there are also lots of other things that enable the same kind of quality learning and understanding.
And also and this especially rankles me, like this podcast.
I will
no, but here's another thing that especially rankles me. People who, especially older people, right, who believe in the primacy of books, they tend to come from a place of elitism. Okay, because if you think about it, books are expensive. Now, it's 2020 now. I have used a Kindle since about 2014 or 2015, right? And since this device has come into my life,
I love it.
I have not purchased a single book.
I love it.
Like I've not purchased a single physical book except as gifts or whatever. But for myself, not even one, because I'm like, who am I supporting? Am I supporting the author or am I supporting the printing industry?
Yeah.
Right. And more than that, it's also money.
No,
right?
money
books
and
are expensive.
The fact that I can think about a book and be like, oh shit, I can download it now. And I can read it right now.
No, I'm talking about from an elitist perspective.
Yeah.
Books are expensive. Like if you go to Amazon or wherever you buy your ebooks from, you will look at the cost of an ebook.
I'll defer a little on this because, see, to be fair, a lot of the book reading in the past was based out of libraries.
Again, Tushar, access to libraries also is not something that you can you can take for granted.
That is true.
For instance, again, we are in our mid-30s. When I was in college and the internet wasn't really a thing at that time, I mean, it was around, but we didn't have access to it. If you wanted to read, say, Time Magazine or the New York Times or the Guardian, or access new books, like for instance, even though we were in colleges and our colleges had libraries, if you wanted to access new books or encyclopedias, etc., you had to be a member of these these council libraries, like for instance British Council, USIS, I think that United States Information Service, and or if you were if I remember, like when I was I did Pol Science when I was at undergrad level. And a lot of people who were really serious about it were members of the Asiatic Library.
You had to be.
And again, right, being members of the Asiatic Library also was a big deal, because you required like a reference and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And what if you weren't in any of these places? Yeah, what if you were in a place like today, some guy sitting on his computer or on his phone in, like, to use the mythical word Jumri Talaya, can access like, the world's worth of information, right? Which just 20 years ago would not be open to this person.
No doubt. That obviously there is no doubt. The elitism. Also, on a side note, guys, we actually know 2 people from Jumri Talaya.
Really? Who? Yeah.
I cannot mention people's names on this podcast, but I will tell you afterwards.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, the elitism, and it's also like this. There's a certain conservatism, right? The idea of not wanting to move beyond what has been, like not appreciating change, just assuming that a 400-page book is giving you much more knowledge than maybe hundreds of hours of interesting documentary watching or interesting podcast
magazine reading or podcast listening. Tushar, may I be allowed to go on one side rant over here?
Yes, but do it quickly because we are a short podcast.
2 minutes. Yeah. So basically, this is an opinion that I've had for long. It's an unpopular opinion, but I dislike physical books, and more than that, I dislike bookshops, and I dislike this entire concept of the romance of a bookstore.
You know what?
And like the smell of old papers.
Yeah. So I will be like, मेरे को आज तक life में ये समझा नहीं है. This whole browsing bookshop thing I've never understood, because I'm like, I need recommendations. I need to like just figure stuff from like a bunch of things I read and then go buy a book, because I can never be like, oh, this looks interesting, let me buy this book. I've never done that. And like bookstores are like annoying, dude. Like romanticism is nice and all, but like,
and more than that, I can't deal with the smugness of a lot of people who are into bookstores. Because now that's what's like, oh God, please get off.
Yeah, just like relax.
The feel of paper. Listen, I have had a Kindle for a while now, and I'm never going back. I'm saying this as a person.
No, my favorite are the second-hand book lovers. Like, this book must have passed through the hands of blah 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 in the 1960s, and now it's in my hands, and I will share it. It's like a legacy. I'm like, relax, buddy.
And now we have to think of, I hope this person didn't have COVID-19.
Yeah. Stop spreading the disease, guys. Social distancing of books also.
Social distancing of books also, which will only be achieved by not buying them.
This last 10 minutes is going to sound like we're edging for like Amazon sponsorship.
Yeah.
Which we will not mind. No. I'm just letting you know. We are okay with that.
Yeah, please give us money, guys. Yeah, I don't care where it comes from.
Yeah, just anyone.
Okay, but my bookstore and book rant is over now. Okay, we can go back to what we were talking about.
Third point is dating apps. Old people look at dating apps and guess like it pisses them off the most. I've never seen anything else pissing off old people more than dating apps.
Yeah. I think a large part of it is jealousy.
I think it's jealousy. I think a lot of it is jealousy, because like, how many kar sakte? Because look at us, like even we look at like there are certain aspects, like I look at like kids in school now, I'm like, you're assholes, you have so much more than I did when I was in school. Like, these fun subjects and teachers being cool and you getting to do projects and all that, as opposed to sitting and memorizing question papers from the last 10 years.
Yeah, 21, no, not even more than 10 years, no? If it was 21 sets, that means 14 years.
Yeah. So you had to do that.
Something like that.
So I think part of it is jealousy. I think the other part is obviously our standard mix of Indian problems, which comes to caste, class, religion, ethnicity, region, language. Because old people do not like the idea of young people intermingling in any form.
Correct. Because sanskar must be preserved.
Yeah, because also, there's the angle of the purity of the virgin woman, which Indian culture is prioritized. I know someone's going to throw like, but no, in this scripture, it doesn't say that. I'm saying as it's practiced on the ground, okay? as it's practiced on the ground,
obviously.
We put a huge premium on fucking virginity in this country. It's insane and extremely dumb, in my opinion. Then, of course, there's just in general an aversion to letting the opposite sex mix. Then, of course, there is the caste angle, where a lot of people are afraid that this would lead to a lot more intercaste marriages or intercaste relationships. And we know in India, a lot of people are not fans of that idea.
95. No, you know what? So according to the government of India, 94.6% of all marriages in India are endogamous, which means that they are not just within the same religion. It's not just within the same religion or ethnic community. It's not like two Hindus or two Muslims or two people from Gujarat or Kerala marrying each other. They're within the same caste also.
Yeah.
And so obviously having a dating app, opening a dating app or these things are breaking these barriers down, right?
But
because I feel like, at least the hope is again, I'm not saying that we can remove 2 millennia of endogamy or anything with Tinder and OkCupid, but I'm saying that the hope is at least that these barriers come down a little bit as more and more strangers meet.
And of course,
and it's not.
There is caste, and of course, there is the big one, religion. Because that one is
exactly, right? Forget the concept itself of, I don't know if even, Tushar, considering that stat I just rattled off, about 94.6% being within the same caste, I don't think religion even comes into play.
It does. Buddy.
To be honest.
Religion does.
No. What I mean is, like, for instance, like in our country, in India, what I mean is, of the population is Hindu.
Right? No, wait. What I mean is, there is an aversion to the idea of somebody who might end up dating someone from a different religion or a different caste.
So, no, I'm saying, but as far as marriages are concerned, caste seems to be the first priority. Because it's not, when I say religion doesn't even come into play over there, I think religion is like second or third as far as
no, I feel like it's right up there, but in the sense the instances are lower because the chances are lower of that happening. Because again, everyone's so fucking afraid. So even if someone likes someone, they're like, wait, do I really want to do this? My family will fuck my happiness.
Everyone watch Sairat.
Yeah, everyone watch Sairat. Do not watch the shitty Hindi one, which was, I don't know what.
Yeah, don't watch I don't even know what it's going to call, and even if I remember later, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, just watch the Marathi one.
I don't want to put it in your... Watch the Marathi one with subtitles.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying even if you're like a quote-unquote cool uncle, and you're not slagging these apps from the perspective of conservative or whatever, and you're saying, go out and meet girls or meet boys or meet people you like, at like the places where I met your auntie or uncle, like at a wedding or at a party or whatever. Again, this is a very male centric view, right? Because and this is what we understand now that we have varied perspectives. The dating world is not great unless if you're not a straight male.
No. Also, let me stop you there. The dating world is also very new in this country. The idea of dating did not exist maybe 25. I mean, of course, people dated before that also, but as a mainstream idea of more and more people doing it. It did not exist, I think, till the 90s, I guess, or late 90s.
Late 90s.
Like as a prevalent thing. Of course, I'm sure people dated before.
Yeah.
But very few did.
Very few did. Yeah. And that too maybe in only in big cities or whatever.
Yeah, a certain segment of society did. Otherwise, it was very difficult, almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
Because everyone
that's why I said no quote unquote cool uncle.
Cool uncle, yeah, that is true.
Yeah. But if you're even now, for instance, like if you're out dating now, and again from understanding and learning multiple perspectives from social media, etc., you learn that the world is, if you're a single person and you're looking to date, India is not a great place unless you're a heterosexual man, right? Especially when in vulnerable situations like dating and so on and so forth.
They don't understand the safety that a lot of these apps provide women.
Or privacy. Women, no, I'm not even talking just about women. I'm talking about anyone over here. Yeah, there are lots of people who are from the LGBTQ community. Like we were talking about earlier, there are lots of people who might pursue quote unquote intercaste or interreligious relationships.
Also, the thing is, what a lot of these apps do, and of course they have their problems also. What a lot of these apps do is, again, as I said, dating is a very new concept in India. We don't have a dating culture that sort of is as prevalent as it is in the West, where you start dating, you meet people at a bar, or you meet people at a social event and then start dating. In India, it's generally, before the apps came along, it was generally either you were dating a colleague or you were dating a friend of a friend.
Correct.
Very rarely, or someone you met in college. Very rarely would it be someone from a random situation happened and you started dating them. So these apps are actually a new avenue. They give you access to a lot more interesting people.
Which obviously older people hate.
Also, but interesting people also.
Which as a concept, older people dislike.
Yeah, what is all this freedom? You can
what is all this freedom?
People? What is this nonsense?
I know, man. But so okay, should we wrap it up?
I think so. At this point, we've pretty much talked about why uncles whine about the internet so much, while using it a lot themselves.
And also, but the idea that when an uncle says, "Arey, these young people, all they want to do is talk on their phones," not even talk, actually, look at their phones or whatever. At face value, it's probably true-ish.
Yeah.
Considering that, a lot of people spend way too much time on their phones. Guys, put your phones down. And
our problem is with the blanket assumption.
The blanket assumption of what you're doing on the phone, right? Yeah. You can be doing many things. Like you could be chatting with your friends or whatever, or you could be sitting and reading Plato on your phone also. Yeah. There's both activities that you can actually do as easily.
Pretty much.
Like read the Greek classics as well as like indulge in like meme sharing with your bros.
Exactly.
So it depends on what you're doing also, right? Because I do not do any of that stuff, Tushar. All I do is read Greek and Roman classics in their original Latin and Attic
Greek. That is the kind of person you are, Joel. While I'm busy reading the latest Sanskrit magazines that I can subscribe to.
Sanskrit magazine.
And try to decipher them. So guys, so what you are basically saying is, so that the next time an uncle comes and tells you, "Bada internet bahut kar rahe ho tum. Why are you doing so much internet? Why are you wasting so much time on internet?" What you can do
on your phone.
What you can do is tell them to pick up their phone, open it, use the internet, come listen to our podcast first, and then you tell them to sit, and then you tell them Uncle P.
That's a lot of instructions to give someone, but I will go with it. Because in the end, it encourages people to listen to us.
Exactly. So, as always, thank you guys. This was fun. We will see you again next time.
We will see you again next week. Yes.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always, always, always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.
Hey, this is Shridaditya.
And I'm Amit Doshi.
And we host Shunya One.
It's a really fun podcast where we talk to some of the best entrepreneurs in the country.
Yes, talking about everything from their startup challenges to what they're building and all the future of technology right here.
So catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you listen to your podcast from.